Welcome to World Mobile Chain interview series, Bridging the Gap with me, Jessica Walker. So to kickstart this series off, I'm joined by World Mobile Chain's very own CEO, Micky Watkins. Micky, it's great to be joined with you today. How are you?
Hi Jess, great to see you again. How are you?
Great, I'm really good. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Amazing. Well, it's been a lot of hard work for you over the past few years, and the past few weeks has been a very hardworking final sprint. I'd love for you to start just by telling our viewers that are watching, what is World Mobile Chain to you?
World Mobile Chain is a new standard of mobile network operator that uses renewable energy, blockchain, and alternative spectrum in order to deliver a super fast 6th generation internet to rural areas around the world.
And the concept itself is fascinating, but I always think it's fascinating to hear from the founders and the CEOs, their story initially as well. So I do want to ask you about yourself, Micky, a little bit of context. What's your story?
I've been in the telecommunications industry for the last 20 years, mostly bridging the divide and bridging borders, finding really cheap ways to provide connectivity to people that don't have connectivity. The last 5 or 6 years, my focus was on privacy-based solutions, where the rights were back where they should be, with the consumer and with the regulator. And then I stumbled across the 3.7 billion people around the world are unconnected, and this became a heavy focus, hence World Mobile today.
It sounds to me like, based on all your experience over your 20 years that you've mentioned, that World Mobile Chain really has been your calling.
I don't know if World Mobile Chain was originally my calling, but when you find a problem so big, you just can't ignore it. So as soon as I discovered that this many people were unconnected, I felt compelled because I saw Facebook, Microsoft, Google had found semi-solutions to actually reach the unconnected, but they'd never found a sustainable way to keep the unconnected connected. For example, you've got the Google Loom project, which had millions of dollars spent on it, was very promising, was running in East Africa in fact, and in January this year shut down. So yeah, when I found out that you can actually reach those people, I discovered that there was solutions, namely the sharing economy, in order to be able to provide the solution.
And with what we have seen unfold over the past few years, as you've mentioned as well, as people that have also tried and attempted to enter this space, the status of the telecoms industry today, how would you evaluate it?
Telecoms are tanking, revenues are falling. Minutes don't exist anymore. They've been replaced by over-the-air applications, over-the-top applications. The same for SMSs, and data is getting cheaper. There's 1,000 mobile network operators competing for half the world, but there's none competing for the other half. So the situation in telecoms is dire, and telecom companies are looking for ways to innovate and to create more revenues internally.
It is hard. It sounds like a huge challenge, and it also sounds like the industry has, in that part of the world that you are discussing, has almost been overlooked so far by a massive amount of market.
I know many CEOs and managing directors of mobile network operators in Africa. It's not that it's overlooked, it's that legacy infrastructure doesn't support going out to connect rural areas, and the solutions that exist so far are turnkey. If you look back to 15 to 20 years ago, there were hundreds of players in the space that were innovating and developing what we use today as telecom. Over those years, an oligopoly took control, and there's only 4 or 5 innovators in the space. So what we need to do is we need to bring back innovation. It's not about the telecom operators overlooking, it's more about the telecom operators being stuck in a box they can't get out of. They absolutely want to be able to connect the unconnected because it represents the future growth markets. It's far from saturated. Like I said, 1,000 mobile network operators operate in the half of the world that is connected, and there's none operating the part of the world that isn't connected. So even if 300-400 come into that space, it still won't be saturated for many years.
Wow. And if we look at today, 2021, what makes now the perfect time for change?
It's the perfect convergence of technology, regulation, understanding. The United Nations, the World Bank, they've put their United Nations SDGs, at least 11 of them out of the 17 are connectivity is absolutely essential. The World Bank, they've put this as a priority to connect the unconnected. The problem is whilst they put it as a priority and put focus there was only 1.3% growth of coverage over the last 2 years globally. So we've got a problem. We need to fix that problem. And the technology's here. We've proven that again. I say that at Google, Facebook, Microsoft, big tech companies. It's just about finding a sustainable business model.
So we've looked at the technology that World Mobile Chain has, but when it comes to World Mobile Chain and the importance of its customers, how important is customers to World Mobile Chain?
Customers have always been taken value from. That is unfortunately how mobile network operators operate at the core. While Mobile Chain doesn't take value from its customers, it gives value to its customers by giving them part ownership of the network itself. And we're looking to create a new relationship between connectivity and mobile network operators.
It all sounds so interesting. And if we look ahead, and I'd love to hear, as the CEO of World Mobile Chain, your vision for the future of this.
We have spent the last 3 years running proof of concepts and feasibility studies in Tanzania, in Zanzibar, and in other parts of East Africa. We believe that the future of telecommunications is about sharing, creating a sharing economy. Much like Airbnb and Uber disrupted their relevant businesses, we can lower the bar for people to enter into the telecommunications market, and we can make it viable that people would host an air node, which is a pole that has a solar panel on top of it, underneath a street light, followed by a wireless access point, plugged into the World Mobile Chain with a Raspberry Pi, and has backup batteries on the bottom. We've developed this device, which is agnostic. You can stick any kind of wireless access point on there for less than $5,000. If we can bring that as a viable option for people in villages to host this node and to have it as an alternative for livestock or as a supplement to owning a shop, then we can bring a big ROI, but the biggest ROI is the people being connected. At that moment, you've got power, you've got street light, you've got connectivity, you provide digital identity, and now you truly are opening up a new world for every customer that's on there.
And at this point, World Mobile Chain is much more than just a concept. It has already been integrated in towns, and the feedback and response that you have has been very positive. But I do want to ask if there's any responses or feedback that maybe have surprised you, anything that's come out that has maybe caught you off guard that you weren't expecting.
Sure. When we started the first feasibility studies and the proof of concepts, we were shocked. I was shocked personally, and it's a little bit embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. I sent the team out there with devices, with mobile phones, assuming that maybe there would be one or two in a village of a couple of hundred people. But it turns out that half the population in these villages have mobile phones. It's their choice piece of device for entertainment. It provides a torch, it provides downloadable videos where they'll download that as they go to work and bring it back. There's no connectivity in the villages, but that was one misconception. They have phones. The other misconception was I didn't realize that the villages didn't have a central source of power. I figured that they would at least have that. When we arrived, there's also no streetlights. So on the equator, especially in Tanzania, East Africa, it gets dark every night at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30. So all of a sudden, the hustle and bustle of the village stops. People go back to their houses. Some people are fortunate enough to have a small solar setup, home solar and light, others not. What we found is where we put up the pole, the air nodes, all of a sudden that became the marketplace. Ladies sat outside, set up shop, people came, bedtime, I'm not saying it's good, but bedtime was extended until 11, 12 o'clock. We also got reports from the people in the village, especially ladies, that they felt much safer walking around. So we managed to extend in one village a whole bunch of street lights and then have mesh networking jumping through in a signal, and it completely transformed everything. We also saw things like essentially a financial revolution where people were getting paid 5 times more, 6 times more for their catch of fish because they're able to communicate. We saw beautiful things like the chief of the village was able to see China and India for the first time via camera and YouTube. And of course, we're seeing some really good progression now with people that have picked up the internet and starting to educate themselves and starting to become included with the world as one. And all of this was without digital identity attached and without like a full commercial license. These were feasibility studies. So as we roll out in Zanzibar and we roll out in Tanzania and we roll out in Kenya with the digital identity, with full commercial licenses, we're going to open a new world. We're going to see something absolutely transformative happen.
Wow, and it's definitely something that when you explained the ripple effect from this, that it was beyond even my imagination of the things that you're able to achieve. So it sounds absolutely fantastic. And I'm so excited to hear more about World Mobile Chain's progress in the future. Micky, thank you so much for joining me today on the line.
Jess, you are the best. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon. I look forward to the next session.
Thank you so much. And I will be joined by more team members of World Mobile Chain, so please subscribe to the channel to not miss any more updates from us.